Welcome to day 8 of the 12 days of Quiltmas. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Chris O'Neill from Sew the Distance, and I cannot wait to share my quilt, which I'm going to share with you right now. You ready? Here it is. I am in love with this quilt. This whole process has been a little challenging, to say the least. We came together in October to come up with this idea. You know what? Let me just tell you a story. So why don't you grab a cup of tea or hot chocolate or something festive and sit back and relax to hear a story about how this quilt came to be. Once upon a time in a land far, far away, well, maybe not so far away, just depends on where you live. But anyway, once upon a time in a land maybe not so far away lived a YouTuber, and her name was Chris. And she opened her big mouth one day and suggested an ugly Christmas fabric collaboration. Although it was a good idea, it went wrong pretty quickly, especially when she started receiving all of the fabrics. So here's the thing. Each one of the participants, all 12 of them, including Chris, had to buy 3 yards of an ugly Christmas fabric, or what that person deemed as an ugly Christmas fabric. Cut it up into 12 fat quarters, keep one for themselves, and send out all of the other fat quarters to everybody else in the group. So each one of us received 12 fat quarters. Each one of the participants received 12 ugly Christmas fat quarters. And Chris thought, well, they're not all ugly. Some are kind of pretty, some are kind of nice, some are really nice. But when Chris put them all together, the horror that came about from this, what was Chris to do? How was Chris going to make all these work in a quilt? The failure, the drama, the ideas that were floating around in her head before she received the fabric all came crashing down. Back to the drawing board, Chris said. What could she do? So she photocopied some of the fabrics, started playing with some of the fabrics on the design board. Nothing looked right. She needed a good anchor, she thought. Black is always the go-to anchor when you're working with something you don't want to work with. She knew this, she had learned this, so black fabric it was. It worked. What else could go with this fabric, Chris wondered. She really wanted it to be Christmas-like. What about red? So off to the quilt shop Chris went, looking for the perfect red fabric. But there's a lot of red fabrics out there, and Chris got very confused very fast. The quilt shop owner said to her, "What about this one?" And Chris thought, well, that's more pink than red. That's never gonna work. The quilt shop owner, in all her wisdom, said, let's give it a try. So Chris put these fabrics up against this red, which was more like a pink, and thought, it works. Look at this. It makes these fabrics sparkle. So she went home, went to her design board, tried it up against some of her photocopied fabrics, and realized it works, but this pattern does not. So back to the drawing board. What could she make that would have this red in it, would separate these fabrics with the black, and look really great? Now, at the same time on YouTube, there were a lot of different videos about this Christmas package block. She'd seen it before. It's been around for years. But she thought, maybe she'll make that. So off to the drawing board, a pad of graph paper, she went and she started playing and drawing and sketching and picking out different patterns and different ways to lay it out. Until finally she thought, well, the rule of thumb is to go small if you have a difficult fabric. She's heard it before. She's heard it a million times before. And she thought, She started cutting it up and realized she was losing the essence of some of this fabric that she really wanted in these packages. What else could she do? She decided to go big. If you can't go small, go big, she thought. And sure enough, that's what worked. So she made her sample blocks, and she kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger until finally she found the size she wanted, a giant size block, and it worked. So it was finally time to cut that fabric, get to work, and start putting this quilt together with all the measurements she had sketched out. It was fantastic. Her heart sung And then it kind of sunk a little when she realized she didn't get to keep this quilt. This quilt was going to be given to one of her viewers out there in YouTube land. But over time, she came to terms with it because she knew it was a really special quilt. And she also knew that all her friends made it together. And finally, at the end of our story, that quilter and YouTuber, Chris, went to her long armor and said, "I'd like something Christmassy for this particular one." And the long armor said to her, "I think it's time you learned how to use this machine." And Chris, a little apprehensive, said, "Okay, let's give it a try." So that wonderful long armor said, "I will be with you by your side the entire time." So they picked a pattern together, they picked thread together, and decided on this wonderful iridescent silver thread with a snowflake quilting pattern. That YouTuber came home, bound the quilt in a flange binding using that wonderful pink red that she originally didn't like, finished up the quilt, threw it in the washer, washed it, and made it nice and crinkly. And here is that quilt. It is done. It is wonderful, and I so hope you get to take it home. And they all lived happily ever after. So I hope you enjoyed this story of this quilter named Chris, who made this quilt along with many of her quilty friends here on YouTube. I hope you enjoyed this story on how this wonderful quilt came to be, and I hope you check out the other videos in this series. Collect those secret words. My secret word is ribbon. So just jot that down so you have it. And don't forget that the time period to register to possibly get one of these quilts starts on December 12th at 6:30 p.m. after Tucker's video from Tucker's Sewing and Quilting. After his video airs, you'll be able to register. And that registry period will be open between December 12th and December 17th. Check out my description below for all of the rules so you can understand exactly how this is going to take shape. I will also keep you up to date on all of the happenings with this. So check out my community posts throughout this time period to get the up-to-date information that you may need. The winner will be picked randomly on the 19th. And I will make sure I get my quilt mailed out immediately so you can hopefully, possibly have it by Christmas. Now for my international viewers, you might not have it by Christmas, but hey, you can at least still try to get this quilt. I hope you have a wonderful holiday. I will see you soon. Have a great day and make sure you take some time to sew. Bye.